Welcome, everybody. We will start our meeting now. I'd like to start first with the flag salute. Robin, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oi. All right, thank you very much. Next up, our agenda review. Are there any items that we need to have notes on, Dave?
Yes, on item 10.2 has been pulled by the Brentwood Teachers Association.
Noted, thank you.
I believe that's it.
Okay.
Let me see anything else. All right.
Next up, special presentations, correspondence, superintendent report.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming. It is May. I just heard 20 days left, so that's a countdown that's coming, but there have been a lot of great things going on in our district. So this is the Harvest Grove first annual Spring Has Sprung Festival. So lots of fun and smiling faces out there. So congratulations on getting that going. Lots of things coming back. So this is the Bristow Music Program, and their boosters used to every year put on a Mecca feed to raise money, especially for their traveling and competitions. So this is them being able to do that, and great turnout for that. The Ron Nunn State Float Fair took place. Both students creating floats that highlight all 50 states, and then students from the stool getting in to come and look at those and learn from those floats as well. It is track season, so here's some great pictures from Edna Hill School and their meet at Liberty. I think Bristow was there too, but I think Kirsten Job's team took better photos. So John, consider that a challenge for next time going forward. These pictures are some of my favorite I've seen all year. So these are some of our young artists whose artwork now hangs in the community center in Brentwood, and you can go see these are coming off of the art show that took place. So honorees were selected from each school site and then put at the selected to compete at the school district-wide art show. So these are a couple from Mary Casey Black and Cray, and then some other kids that are showing off their work. So you can see them hung on a couple floors in there. So if you haven't been there, make sure you go look. And the names are small, but we'll put this up online. But I just wanted to again take this opportunity to thank our art docents. There's no way that we would be able to do this without these wonderful volunteer parents that lead these programs. And so thank you to them for all that they do. Fifth grade bands, here's a Kim Griffith Fraley's group that's there at Cray putting on a show. And I know this is something that will be also appreciated by the middle school bands next year, as these students have fifth grade bands. So it makes that job easier. I was able to attend the academic decathlon at Bristow. It was a really fun and feverish event where teams compete against each other, and it's based on things that they've learned all throughout the year. And so it was a really fun event to go and see teams of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders combine. Also was able to visit Mr. Wechter's room. He did this really fun, engaging activity where he used a Santana music clip and paused it at a certain time and had the students predict based on where it was along the plane of how long the song would be. And I thought it was a great lesson, and I shared it even though I didn't win with my prediction. But it was great. Also saw Mr. Henry's class at Bristow. They were doing a human timeline. They were learning about positive and negative integers, and you had his students out of their seats along the number line. They were each given different numbers, and they had to place themselves along the line. So sometimes students, especially younger students, struggle with negative integers. So it was a really great opportunity to find a positive way to engage them in that. We're starting up the Nail House program again out at the Brentwood Historical Society. So these are the volunteer docents that came out to Cray here and shared with these students as they were preparing for their field trip to go out. So that's part of the process. And I'll show you a picture later on of another group that's out there. And then this is Family Bingo Night at Loma Vista. So thanks to the teachers, Ms. Bruzewitz and Mrs. Gandara, for organizing that, and the Parents Club for helping make this a great event for them. Some excited teachers pulling some of their old shirts out of their closets, and so we had testing these past couple weeks, and so this was a rock the test assembly that took place at Ron Nunn School. So lots of fun getting the students excited about proving all the things that they learned this year. This is Mrs. Berry's third graders at Cray who are getting ready to harvest the items that they've planted and sell these items after school at Cray. So a fun opportunity to pick up some vegetables there. Now, these are some third graders from Mary Casey Black who visited the Nail House experience. And as third graders, they got to be in a classroom and do some laundry and make some ice cream. But it was also fun. They got to spend the day with their school's namesake, Mary Casey Black, out there as well. So a fun day. And then these were some first graders from Mary Casey Black who visited Smith Family Farms and were learning about agriculture. And it's fun. It's a fun room that they're in there. Harvest Grove students are getting to experience art as well, and I wanted to thank MCB for letting them use their multipurpose room to make that happen. You see here with Mrs. Tremaine getting to do some art activities and also some social time, which is important for those students as well. Trustee Williams Rogers and Trustee Dow Jensen, along with a couple of Liberty trustees, went to DC to lobby for more special education funding for our district, for high-speed internet access for some of our most challenged populations, and also for more nutrition funding. So thank you, Ms. Dow Jensen, for taking that trip and advocating for us. Bandapalooza is back, so this is an opportunity for fifth grade bands to play along with their elementary school feeders. So this is Bristow and with Loma Vista and Marsh Creek playing all together and individually as well. So great showcase of all they've done. Get to celebrate again at our Region 6 dinner, which is basically all of Alameda and Contra Costa County. And this is Robert Remley, who was selected as the award winner for that, and his lovely wife. So is Robert here? He's back there. Okay, I didn't see him. Eric's not letting him in the box. So, but I want to congratulate Robert and also Casey, who's over there, and Liz. So congratulations again to you guys. And then we've been really ramping up our partnership with Village Community Resource Center as they're coming back online and in person too. And so they hosted an English Learner Advisory Committee meeting with parents of Marsh Creek Elementary, and really seen some great partnerships come out of that. So thank you to them. And then again, getting some wonderful events back. This is pictures from the Spring Fling at Loma Vista taking place. And then I want to share, you saw my picture last month of Willy Wonka Jr., which was a play that took place at Edna Hill. At the end of the year, they do a purple performance, which is a fundraiser for cancer. So all the proceeds go to Relay for Life. And the students raised over $3,000 for that. So congratulations to Bart Schneider and Lisa Seamers and all those wonderful kids for all the work that they did for such a good cause. I really want to take an opportunity to thank the parent clubs and the community in the district who really went above and beyond to support and thank so many of our staff this week for Staff Appreciation Week. It was actually last week, but lots of really, really kind and thoughtful gestures, lots of food that was out there, lots of signs. You can see this was even there was like a Disneyland day there with Martha Berry at Cray. So really, I just appreciate the people that took so much time and effort to recognize our great staff. So thank you to them. And then May 4th was also Food Service Hero Day, Superhero Day. And so different schools around the district made signs and celebrated our food service employees who have certainly, as you'll hear later on today, had a crazy year because of nearly doubling the meals that we're seeing out there that they're serving. So glad that they were able to be celebrated. I thought May 5th, which was our employee awards dinner, was a wonderful night to celebrate our retirees and employees with long service, and also our award-winning classified and certificated staff. And so it was a wonderful night. And so thank you for board for supporting and for coming out and joining us at Wedgwood. It was really a great time, and it was great to be back in person after a couple of years. I thought this was great. So Officer Bollinger and Officer Rucker hosted a cornhole tournament at lunchtime at Bristow. Got students out there involved. It was definitely a hit. So thank you to them for doing that. And then one of the best things that happens in this area is the Special Olympics. So you saw a few months ago, we had basketball one that took place at Adams, but this was track. And it took place out at Liberty. And so these are just some pictures from these are some of the teams that were out there. There were many teams that were out there. I think this is the Cray, and I see Mary Casey Black out there as well. So thank you for everybody who was involved in that. And then theater's back and other programs as well. So this is Adams doing High School Musical. So thanks to Mrs. Greth and Mr. Bullington for helping put that on. And those people actually got to see the show because they're not in folding chairs anymore. They're actually in rising chairs that are out there, theater chairs. So that's a really nice thing. And then this is a great picture. One, because these kids worked really hard to put on Goody Bird Green at Bristow. And thanks to Zan Leviachik for that. But also because it's the last time that you'll see a play like this in this format at Bristow, right? This is a converted classroom, and the Emil J. Geddes Theater is being constructed out there as we speak. And it's our anticipation that next year we'll have a play in there. So we're really excited about that. But congratulations to this group. And that is my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eaton. Do we have any comments from board members?
I have a couple things to report. Excuse me. We had a transportation meeting last week, and we decided our goal is going to be to put 2 brand new buses per year if it all works out financially. And that's kind of exciting if you see some of the older ones. And the green, I don't know if you've seen them around town. I think there's 1 or 2 of them. But the buses that have the green wheel wells painted, we actually have 2, Dana, 2 electric buses. Yeah, 2 electric buses. I just happen to be next to one at the red light. And what they have to do is, because people don't think the buses are running because they're so silent with the electric buses, that they actually play like ice cream music to let the people that are next to them know that the bus is actually on and stuff. So kind of a fun fact there, you know.
It's kind of false advertising, though.
Yeah. I don't think they get that excited to. And as Dana said, we had our teacher appreciation dinner / retirement dinner. It was wonderful. Myself and Twee were there, along with Stephanie. And on that note, I'd like to give a shout out to Emily Cooper. This was her first year of organizing it. And she did an absolute wonderful job. I'm her and all the other people that helped, but she was in charge. And also a big shout out to Adam Buta, did I say it right? Buto, who is the general manager at Wedgwood. And him and his staff just took care of us. They bent over backwards to make sure everybody was happy, and just a fabulous dinner, fabulous time. The staff was so polite, and it was just a fun night. Not that they're all not fun, but some of them are more fun. And I would also like to give a shout out to our own Roxanne, who emceed the entire night and did a fabulous job too. It was very fun until Stephanie, our board member, Roxanne does this thing where she goes back to 20, 25 years and she gives fun facts for the particular years. What song was popular, what movie was popular. And she got to 1987, and Stephanie leaned over to me and said, I was only a sophomore in high school. And it's kind of an insult I pond a little bit. So, but, was it 97? Holy moly. It's even freaking worse. Holy smokes. So you were too? Wow. Well, I was 20 years earlier than that. So moving along. that's pretty much all I had. I just wanted to acknowledge everybody. So anyway, take it away there, Mr. President.
Twee, did you have any comments?
We had a diversity and equity meeting on Monday. Yeah,
May 2nd.
May 2nd. And we reviewed some of the biosync metrics. And we're going to come up with some suggested book readings.
Great. I myself had a fantastic Saturday a couple weeks ago out at Band and High School in Fairfield and got to see the Bristow Band and Choir compete and perform. And wow, they are amazing. Kudos to Mark Morello and the program there. It was fun to see. So that's all I have. All right, moving on. Public comment. I see we have a couple of speaker cards. Do we have a motion to open?
I'll make a motion that we open public comment.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. At this time, the public is permitted to address the school board on items that are on the consent calendar. Requests for future agenda items and items that are not on the agenda. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Okay, remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. While we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents us from discussing items that are not on our meeting agenda. Public comments can be made at this time or during the appropriate agenda item. We do take them very seriously, and if appropriate staff will follow up. All right, first up we have Holly Bishop.
All right. I wanted to quickly speak about the cell phone policy. I agree that cell phones should not be used during school session. My issue was the guidelines placed around cell phones. It specifically states between the hours of 7:45 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. For most children, school does not start until after 8, but I wanted to see if we can word things a little different. What I see is once children get into the gate in school, they call their parents to confirm they have arrived. This is once a student gets inside. If a teacher or staff sees that, they could confiscate the student's phone. I also see the same thing with students leaving school, calling their parents, asking where they're parked. By doing such, per the ed code, this would be a violation. I'm just wondering if we can kind of change the times on that, at that there. So the second thing I wanted to speak about is labels. I've been receiving flyers on, and I quote, Parents and Caregivers of Color Engagement Group, Fostering Student Connections, hosted by BUSD staff Tamara. Tamara is a racially equality consultant and mom of 2 BUSD students. I believe this isn't a sponsored BUSD event, but the email is being sent out by the district. I like that Tamara is bringing people together, but I don't appreciate labeling. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a mother, one of the best gifts in life, and I'm going to marry a wonderful man this June. Now let's put labels on what I just said. I'm a white mother to a black child, and I will be marrying a Mexican this June. Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like me or my family? No, that sounds ugly. In my home and in my family, we have no labels. In the Bible, did you know race is not brought up? Genesis speaks of humankind. We're all hardwired to be able to breathe, but we aren't hardwired to choose race. People are taught to bring up race. Who we are is not skin deep. I haven't heard a toddler bring up black and white, and if I have, it was taught. Anyone having an event shouldn't put a racial label on anything. That's not what an event should be about. An event about equality, yes. Labeling causes division, especially when it comes into the race category. We are one, and once you put an end to labels, we are one, and once we put an end to the labels, we will never be divided. Imagine a world without a box to check to define who you are. Would you still want to be defined by that box? No, you would be you because your skin does not define who you are. Labels need to come to an end. I'm asking you to stop sending out email invites for the invites tied to labels. Even though all is invited, all do not feel united in the event that was sent. Again, I'm asking the district to put an end to this mass email invite or possibly speak to the event coordinator to evaluate the event for all in equality without a label. And in the future, I'm hoping BUSD will end all labels, not only in its events, but its teaching as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Jill Newmeyer.
Good evening. My name's Jill Newmeyer, and I'm a proud special education teacher at Pioneer. I'm here today to advocate on behalf of our amazing 935 students and nearly 100 dedicated teachers and staff members. Yes, there are 935 students currently enrolled at Pioneer. This is not our staffing capacity or our anticipated growth. This is the number of students enrolled at Pioneer today. I've included the students in our 3 special day classes because they are an important part of our student body and participate in all school activities just as our general education students. Their enrollment was not reflected in the site data at a previous meeting. I know that school size is not a new phenomenon. Our community has grown over the past 20 years, but these are not the students of yesteryear. Students have needs greater than ever before. Learning difficulties, behavioral challenges, social emotional needs. Under the leadership of Mr. McClure and Mrs. Linguero, and formerly Miss Martin, every single member of our staff works diligently to meet those needs on a daily basis, but it is beyond difficult. A principal at my previous district challenged teachers to be problem solvers, not problem pointer outers. I was bothered by that because some problems we teachers cannot solve. And if they aren't pointed out to the people in charge, they may go unnoticed. And this is my point in speaking today. You need to know what it is like at an elementary site of 935 students in 2022. Please come for a visit. I would be happy to show you around Pioneer so you can see our one counselor for 935 students working in a phone closet with no windows. Our intervention teacher who sees 130 students weekly in the hallway. Our music teacher who teaches 320 4th and 5th grade students weekly on our multipurpose room stage. And our PE teacher of the year at our site, who sees 320 students twice a week, whose office is basically a laptop in the office or in the hallway. When it rains, she has to scramble for some place to teach her students because she can't go in the NPR because that's where the music teacher is. Our librarian sees 37 different classes a week. Our GATE students have to meet in the staff room. Come by at dismissal on Wednesday and see nearly 800 1st through 5th graders being dismissed at the same time. There's so much more I could say, but my 3 minutes are up. Please come see us, engage in conversations with our teachers and staff members. We need to know that you see us and our students.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? I will take a motion to close public comment.
I'll make a motion that we close public comment.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment is closed. Next up, we have our consent items. Anybody like to comment on or pull any of these items?
If it's okay, Mr. President, I'd like to speak just to item 8.1, the personnel report on a couple of things. Let me go ahead and do that. I just wanted to acknowledge, and this is typical of this time of the year, that lots of times there's some significant pieces of information on here. One that I wanted to point out is the retirement of Terry Cruz. You'll notice she is the day custodian at Ron Nunn School. I think one thing to speak about Terry is, as she's about to retire, is she is actually the original custodian at that school. So she's been with that school since it's been there, and just want to acknowledge her and all that she's meant to that. I also want to acknowledge we have some people in the audience today that we're making some recommendations for, and I want to get to them. But I do want to acknowledge the resignations of both Roxanne Jablonski-Liu, who's our assistant superintendent and been a long time serving in that, and Principal Amy Wallace of Ron Nunn School, who's been in her position for 10 years, and just really share the significant impact that both of these individuals have had on our school district, and thank them both for their service. So I wanted to do that publicly. So thank you, Amy, and thank you, Roxanne. and wish you the best of luck in your next endeavors. And then, as if that were not enough, there are 3 interim positions here, and we have 2 of these people here tonight who I am recommending that they be moved from interim to the actual official positions. So with us, I saw him. He is the nicest dressed person here. His name is Mark Turner, and he is the interim Bristow middle school principal and has done a fantastic job. And I am recommending that he be made the official assistant principal. And so that would be starting next school year. Deanna Lengel, who's done a wonderful job at Pioneer, and I didn't see her. She didn't sneak in, did she? Okay. But she was a former Loma Vista teacher who went over to Pioneer and has done a fantastic job. And I'm recommending that she become the official assistant principal starting next year. And then finally, Allison Martin is here. And Allison took over as the Guerin interim principal here during the beginning of this calendar year and has done a remarkable job. And I am recommending that she also be designated the official principal starting next school year as well. And that's all I have. So with your, if however the vote goes, if the vote goes that way, then all those things happen. If the vote doesn't go, then we just wasted that time. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Dana. And I would personally like to thank Roxanne for all that she's done for the district and for helping me as a new board member get acquainted with how HR works in such a large district. It's been a pleasure working with you. And also to Amy, thank you for all you've done for the district. I had 2 kids go through your school. We had a fantastic experience with both of them. Thank you for all that you've done. And congratulations to those of you being appointed permanent positions. Thank you as well.
I would just quickly like to thank Roxanne also. It's been fun. For six plus years, we've been in the same position, never moved as far as where we're at. And she's going to be sorely missed. But congratulations on hopefully finding what your passion is at some point. And if you don't find it right away, just enjoy your semi-retirement. Amy, what do I say, Amy? Just don't forget where your roots are, okay? Liberty versus us. Not sure you made a right decision, but I'm going with it, all right? Very good. And in all honesty, you know how I feel about you. You're wonderful. So you're going to be sorely missed. And my wife and I briefly walk by the school on our walks and stuff, and we constantly are talking to Amy through the fence like a bunch of inmates. So it's a beautiful thing. So it works out. And one other thing, Mr. Turner, it's very hard to pull off a bow tie. Okay. Very hard. But you do it with style and grace. You're looking good. The bow tie works for you. I can't see it on Dana, but I'm saying it works good on you. So yeah, no, it's more than just that, but we'll move on. And I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, if there's no other comment, if anybody would like to make a motion to approve the consent items.
Make a motion to approve consent items 8.0 to 8.11.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All righty. Motion carries. Okay, item 9, hearings and appeals. We have none. Item 10, presentations, reports, and other action items. Report out of closed session. We do have 2 items to report. First item, a majority of the board voted 3-0 to approve a compromise agreement in Office of Administrative Hearings case number 202-204-0449 to resolve a due process hearing complaint filed by a parent of a former student who asserted special education claims against the district. The board approved a resolution of all claims and demands in exchange for specified funding for the student's private services. That vote was 3-0 with Board Member Dow Jensen, Board Member Dudek, and myself voting yes, and Board Members William Rogers and Board Member Geddes were not present. Also in closed session, the governing board voted to approve a resignation agreement with a classified employee. Again, the vote was 3-0 with Board Member Dow Jensen, Board Member Dudek, and myself voting yes, and Board Member Geddes and Board Member Williams Rogers not present. And that's all I have for item 10.0. 10.1, COVID-19 update.
Yes, so we decided not to do PowerPoint presentations on this anymore for COVID, but I did want to give you an update, and I think it's fair to say we've seen a significant uptick that's not inconsistent with what's happening in our community. So this is the COVID dashboard that Nicole collects the information from the sites on and goes up every Monday. And so I know you've seen this, and so it captures that information and then also shows by month how many are there. I would say based on the emails that I'm seeing about positive cases, you should expect this to go up next week. We're continuing to see a rise in cases across the district and across our community, and that's it's consistent with the percentage increases are consistent with what's happening in our community and in our county. If you look at that dashboard that they're still keeping up at County Health. At this point, there's been no new regulations or recommendations that have come out. The County Health is still sticking with that they're recommending people wear masks in public places. But there's been no further discussion about anything at this point. So I wanted to share that with you and answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Keep our fingers crossed. We make it 26 more days. So
That is the hope.
20.
20. Everybody over there knows 20.
All right.
We're not at
26 last week. I apologize. All right. My bad. All right.
All right. Item 10.2 was pulled, so let's move on to 10.3, the budget update.
Good evening, board. Just a couple of things tonight. As always, we will be back in a couple of weeks with the actual budget to review for hearing and publication. Quickly, the COLA, this is something you've seen before. In January, the governor proposed a COLA for next year, 5.33, which was a 2.85 increase. Right now, there's no update to that other than the U.S. Department of Commerce came out with their statutory COLA number, which is 6.56. We don't know what the governor's going to do on Friday. You know, there's lots of stuff in the news, but normally they follow that and either go up or do something different. So I'm just putting it out there as information, and we'll wait and see what Friday and there'll be lots of stuff in the news, and we'll be trying to update you as well if they have the information on time. So that's the one of the big changes that we sort of expected, but that information came out on April 28th. Second thing, you heard a little bit about this tonight. I'm really looking at the current enrollment and the current 22-23 enrollment as of the date that we prepped this for the board. You can see that right now we're sitting at about 9,289 students in total. TK through 8. Right now in 22-23 at that time, we were about 9,004. So you can see we're still about 280 kids down, about 219 down from what our projected enrollment for budget development was, which was 92-23. And again, that there's lots to place into that, which I'll talk about a little later. But again, that's where we are. So to get there, we still have some work to do. It's not uncommon from where we are right now, but it's something we're watching very closely. The other thing I'll add on here is you notice that our TK enrollment next year is bumped up just a little bit. We're not quite where our capacity is, but those numbers are growing. I mean, you can see kindergarten's still about 300 or 200 below what we have this year, and again, that's sort of on track for normal enrollment, but we just have to keep watching that. So just an update that we'll continue to watch. Next is most of our revenue is technically tied to our ADA, or our percent students in class. And one of the ways to look at that is sort of history. So if you look on the right-hand side with the blue highlighted areas. In the month of April, which was really just the 2 or 10 days prior to spring break, which was still sort of big in COVID and some other stuff going on. We were about 93% attendance. It wasn't as low as January, but you can see, or February, but you can see January, February, March, and April all under 95%. 3 of those under, much lower than that. And right now our average to date is about 93.93, and normally we're about 96%. So we'll watch that. When we after second interim, at second interim, we had our P1 ADA, which was about 8562. And again, we're not funded on that. We're funded on last year's ADA, which was actually the prior year ADA. But at P2, the actual numbers came in and we're actually about 54 kids down from where we were. And that's not unusual across the state, but it's unusual for us in normal circumstances. But again, we're trending like everyone else is. The COVID illnesses really hit us in January, February, March. And so you can see we're about 54 kids down. Normally we're flat or a little bit up at P2. So we'll have to watch that. But it's important is as you look at the current method, and again, there's about 3 different methods out there about how they're going to project and calculate ADA for next year. Is that you can see ADA, the green under 21-22, the P1 ADA was about 8562, and I've laid in there the P2 ADA, which is actually the number we have to use for budget because it's the number that the county uses and Alliance and the auditors use. So you can see that's 8508, and you can see that over there on the right-hand side, the governor's 3-year average went down about 18 kids. So not the 52 because it's an average of 3 years. It's the 2019-20, 2021 and 21-22. They take all 3 of those, average them together. So that sort of offsets that loss of 54 kids, but we're still down about 18 kids. But again, we'll have to watch and see what the governor proposes on Friday and how that plays out. But again, that'll affect, that is affect because we get about $9,000 per kid. Next steps is just to continue to watch enrollment and attendance. More importantly, how it affects how we calculate our ADA and budget development and income for next year. I know you're all watching the economy. You're watching all the things that are going on in the economy. And then besides that, the legislature and the governor have to get together and or negotiate. So that'll be an interesting process to watch. And the governor is supposed to and is mandated to release his May revise on May 13th. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Robin? All right. Moving on to item 10.4, update on enrollment projections and boundaries.
So just quickly, we talked a little bit last time about the Amber Lane apartments and sort of what we're going to do with boundaries, and it's something we need to look at, and it was an information item. And so tonight, I'm based on the information that I received from the feedback we received and worked with staff. Really, we have a short-term outlook that we need to watch for, and that's technically, the growth that's occurring right now. And again, they haven't released the pricing for Amber Lane apartments, but they're supposed to be and have been advertised that they will be market rate, which somewhere in the $300 to $3,500 range. Waiting to see what that does, and right now that has some projected enrollment, but we're going to wait and see how that happens. But we are going to remain assigned to the schools that they're currently in and follow the current process to overflow those students to other schools, if in fact there's issues with capacity at grade levels. And we will continue to monitor that and provide updates to the board. In the long term, we know that we'll be bringing some information to you in June at the next meeting on the Lone Tree site relative to going to bid on or going to contract on that. But it also means in 2 years, in July of 24, we'll be opening another school. And that always means that we have to look at the boundaries that we've talked about before. We have a board policy 5116. And I know you have it memorized, but just for review, the board's going to review attendance boundaries, taking into account capacity enrollment, geographic features, student safety and transportation, which talks about roads and railroads, et cetera, racial and ethnic balance, educational programs such as magnet schools, and community input. So that's the policy that we currently have to guide the work we do, looking at boundaries, and we come back to talk to the board about. And then we have within that policy, we can place students into schools outside of their attendance area based on overcrowding. And we use that policy now. And as you remember, we talked about before, we have quite a few students that get overflowed, and then they choose for lots of different reasons to stay at those schools. It's often all the way across town for all the right reasons and for reasons specific to those families. So looking at long-term, what we plan to do, and we'd be glad to take any feedback from the board tonight, is we will work between now and really June and develop a sort of a working group to look at boundaries. Once that's formed, we'll be working really August through November on coming up with some options to bring some feedback to the board, which we plan to bring back November, December of 22. That will get feedback from the board. Again, that won't be a decision time. That's just, here's an update of where we are. So we talk about that and have input on that. That group will go back based on that feedback and continue to fine tune those options. Look at what's happening with enrollment, look at development in the city, look at those timelines, and bring options back to the board in April, May. We'll get some final feedback and then bring those items back for a finalization, probably in July of 23, something like that. And things change, but that's technically the outline of the plan.
Yeah, and I just want to add, so in that, right, the primary piece is to determine the boundaries for the Lone Tree School, right, and to get those out ahead of time. What may come out of the working group and what may happen as we're going through this process as a board is we may decide that there's other boundary adjustments that we want to recommend in different places in the district. And depending on the timing of that, right, for example, if we were going to do a boundary adjustment for a school for the 23-24 school year, obviously July would be too late for that, right? So that timeline's appropriate for the new school that'll open in 24-25 tentatively, but it wouldn't be appropriate for something we wanted to change before. So then part of the process will be, if there are some short-term things that we want to do for the following year, to peel those off earlier and make decisions about them. So just to kind of clarify that.
So a little more detail is really that we'll work on some criteria within the group so that we know sort of what our target is and what we're really focused on, so it's not all over the board. Its impact on families, major streets, geographic features, I went those before. And then the group will look, as Dana talked about, is what are the options we can really look at? And honestly, sort of being semi-involved in this before and talking to our consultants to do this, is that we'll come up with lots of options. And once sort of the math comes out of that, we'll realize that 80% of those aren't really good. We don't even want to talk about those in public anymore. Those will go away. And that's what we intend to bring back, some of the best ideas that we have in thinking, and bring that back to you and what those things mean, which will allow the group to go back and fine tune that based on your feedback. Because there's lots of moving parts that affect that conversation. And we'll look at and really what that looks at is, not only options to the boundaries, but then if you move a boundary, you move a zone, which we'll talk about just a second, we'll look at the assess the effect that it has on the enrollments by site, by grade level, and those types of things, and have that information when we come back. And then we'll narrow those options and continue the process and come back. We won't take the time in the board meeting to go through all the math, but we'll bring back the summaries for you. And again, that'll come back to you aiming for July 23, looking at those boundary changes that we're proposing that you may take action on. It'll have projections by school along with our criteria, and as well as the implementation practices. And I say that to remind that some of the action that we may recommend in the guidance and the criteria that you give us is that, there's grandfathering clauses, there's timelines and other options and sibling factors that we put into those criteria. As a reminder, this is not any movement, but this is a portion of town. This is really, you can see Lone Tree Way sort of a third of the way up the screen that goes from left to right. And you see Grant Street, and then further down, you can see Sand Creek near at the bottom. And this is just an example of each of those numbers is called the geocode. It's more of an election thing, but it's the same thing that demographers use because it's easy to sort of compartmentalize kids, so to speak. And it's really looking at, you can take, for example, C458, which is right above Pioneer. We wouldn't move that, but it could say, hey, let's move 458 to Marsh Creek. Now we wouldn't do that, but then you do the math to look at how it affects how many kids are in there, what are the grade levels, and how does it affect the enrollment. You look at the numbers, that doesn't work, or there's a geographic feature. So that's some of the work and the details and the weeds that the committee will, or the working group will look at. And again, as back to Danny's comment, it'll look at all those other types of things that might affect across the district on where things are good, what might work, and what are good ideas. And again, boundaries are always one of the hardest things to talk about to make changes. Considerations will we'll rely on board policy. We'll take implementation practices, with grandfathering clauses as an example. We'll of course take criteria in our conversations with the board, and then there will be intra requests to new schools that'll be part of that. If we open the new school, we may have a lot of intras to go to the new school, and that may affect the conversation relative to how it affects those other things, and we'll be monitoring that as we go through. So be glad to answer any questions, but that's just a quick update. And again, we'll be back to you quite often and providing information to you, and probably seeking some volunteers to have fun on that with all the math on that group. But thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Okay, next up, item 10.5, a food services update.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce our wonderful coordinator of nutrition services, Kristen Neeson. And I'm going to, give me just a second.
I won't be able to read it. So as he's getting that together, so my name's Kristen Neeson. I know I haven't presented to the board for quite a while, and I haven't presented to some of you. So do you have any general questions that you want me to touch on over the presentation, just so I have a general idea, or I can just go on with my presentation? Yeah, I was kind of going to touch on the pre-COVID, during COVID, and current and future in general. So, okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. So I just wanted to kind of give you a general overall of what we've been doing for the last couple of years, and what kinds of plans we have going forward for our program. So we'll get started. So prior to COVID, we just like the rest of the country, or most of the school districts with a low free and reduced population, we served kids either that submitted an application and qualified for free or reduced meals for free, and then everybody else, so about 28% of our students qualified for that, and everybody else had to pay for their breakfast or lunch. Lunches range from $3 to $3.25 or so. And prior to COVID, families had to fill out that meal application to qualify. And my next slide will kind of say what they had, how far below the poverty level they had to fall to qualify for that. And pretty much, I don't know. So we served about 1,300 breakfasts per day and about 3,600 lunches per day. Also, the families filling out the meal application did help provide that information for LCFF funds, which now that's gone away. So that's one thing that the district is trying to follow up with families to continue those funds for the district. Students were never refused a meal. And so if they had a negative account balance, we kept serving them their meal. And at the end of the 1920 school year, the district did have to pay the food service budget $7,000 to clear that out, as we were not allowed to pay for that. Otherwise, our food service budget is self-sustaining, and more so than ever now. So go ahead. So this just is a quick snapshot before COVID. We would serve breakfast and lunch every day, 5 days a week, only when school was in session. We weren't allowed to serve meals on the weekend, not allowed to serve meals for other kids outside of our district. And then every child came through with a unique identifier, either their ID card or their student ID number. So like I was saying before, the kids that qualified for free meals, they had to fall below 130% of the federal poverty level, and reduced was under the 185th percent. And for our kids, everyone that fell under that, we paid for the difference of the discrepancy. So all kids falling under 185th percentile under the federal poverty level did eat for free with us. Go ahead and continue. So then we started our COVID meal services on March 17th of 2020. So schools had, well, we were on spring break, but so all kids, we started serving meals every 5 days a week. They got a breakfast and lunch and one sack meal. It was a drive-through pickup service.
throughout the March 17th, 2020 to July 20th, 2021. We pivoted quite a bit. Pretty much for the most of it, we were serving at 7 school sites. And the most successful and the most beneficial to the families was when we were offering our weekly meal distribution meals. So every Wednesday, we had services at 7 sites during the day, and then also an evening site at Brentwood Elementary. And they could come and get not only the meals that we were serving, so the one student, would get all of the food that was shown there. That was probably about for 2 students worth of food. And also we worked with the USDA Farm to Families program. And they would also get a supplemental farm box, which we worked with Frog Hollow Farms on, and then also another USDA program. So overall, we served about 1.5 million meals served that way while the schools were closed or in hybrid. About 250,000 pounds of additional fresh local produce provided to families from the USDA Farms to Family farm boxes. You'll see in that picture there the Giants little bobbleheads. I think with games being closed and things like that, we had a connection to someone that's out in Discovery Bay that works for the Warriors and got us set up. I went over to Burlingame, I think it was, rented a U-Haul and brought a bunch of bobbleheads back and gave those away to the kids. So that was fun. And we also provided a meal delivery service to about 155 kids that we identified that pre-COVID qualified for free or reduced meals, but weren't participating with us picking up the meals because they couldn't get to us. So we went out to the Marsh Creek mobile home apartments, Palm, I forget what it's called, but I know Cray was helping us with that as well at the very beginning, taking meals out to families out there. And we also provided meals to the village area and the apartments over there, as well as the apartments by Pioneer. So just some more pictures of our school closure meal services. Our highest numbers we served about 2,800 kids came and picked up on a weekly basis. We did utilize the USDA waivers to serve all kids 18 years and younger. So not just kids in our district, but their siblings, kids from Discovery Bay, Antioch, all sorts of places were coming over. We served 7 days worth of breakfast and lunch. So we were able to serve holidays, weekends, that amount of food to cover those days. And also the parents were allowed to pick up on behalf of their children, so the children could stay and the parent could pick up for their children. So there's just some fun pictures of us serving. On the bottom left there, you can see there was a farm to summer celebration where we had Frog Hollow Farms come out and do some sampling with families as they were waiting in line to, and we had a dietetic intern helping on that project as well. And then in the upper middle picture there, that was, we really utilized our student worker program, and we've got about 13 kids last summer to help us. So a couple of them are there. I know Lizzie Barrow's son, I think, is in that picture. So they really made that happen, or else we would not have had the staffing for a summer program. You'll see in that upper left picture, that's actually the produce that Dana was talking about at Cray, Mrs. Berry's class. When school closed, they were not able to sell their produce from their garden, so they reached out to us. We purchased it from them, washed it, got it ready, and made little side salads that we gave out with our meals. So that was fun. And in the upper right picture, that's actually my son putting together a little Lunchable that was prior to our big COVID meals, the big box of meals. So a lot of what the money we spent on, we didn't have to spend any money on any of the produce. because so many schools were closed down or not shutting or not serving as many kids or not serving meals at all. So there was an abundance of USDA commodity money that we utilized, so we didn't spend a penny on any of the fresh produce we gave out to families. So, just going into why we have so much money right now. So currently our meal services this year, the USDA has continued free meals for all kids. So we're serving right now as like a summer program, but we cannot serve weekend meals or holiday meals after school or anything like that. So there are some more rules around it, but it's still free meals for all of our students every day. So they get one breakfast, one lunch available at no charge. We are not accepting meal applications. We are accepting alternative income forms. When you have free meals in a different form, it has decreased the amount of families that have submitted those, which has affected the amount that qualify for free or reduced meals. So of course, we're serving more meals. We serve about now 2,900 students at breakfast a day. We serve before school and then also during the morning recess for our elementary kiddos. So that's about 135% increase from 2019. And then we serve about 5,800 students daily lunch, and that's a 62% increase from 2019. So we've hired more staff and just continuing to work with that to make sure that our meals are still good and, you know, we're getting all of those kids through as fast as we can because we do only have the 20 minutes to serve that group of kids and then also give them time to eat. So that's definitely been a big constraint for us. We are trying to continue to work with local companies. Every week, every school gets fresh pizza delivered from Pizza Guys. We work now with the Subway over in the streets of Brentwood. They get fresh sandwiches on a rotation. And then we also work with Dragon City. We just started that. They deliver a veggie chow mein, and we add some chicken too, and the kids are loving that. And we also work with Frog Hollow Farms a little bit for some outreach as well as produce in our kitchens. Some of our partnerships and grants, we work with the Center for Eco-Literacy, who's actually, we're working with them with Frog Hollow Farms on a farmer outreach program. It's called Make Mine California, trying to help us procure more local California grown produce, as well as connecting the kitchen and the classroom and community. So the farmer Al, I believe his name is, he's coming out to a classroom at Edna Hill in a couple weeks, so that'll be fun. We also work with the Chef Ann Foundation. They're a foundation that really is trying to get schools to cook more from scratch. So we're working with them to try to figure out how we can continue to propel our program into that. And I also work with a lot of dietetic interns. I actually worked with 5 or 6 this year because a lot of places were turning them away and we were accepting them. So San Jose State University, San Diego WIC, Utah State University, and I believe that's it. So just some more pictures of our meal services currently. Just trying to get the kids through as fast as we can. So that may throw in some of our challenges for the future are going to be if the USDA, it sounds like you guys were advocating over there in Washington for the USDA also to continue the federally funded nutrition program, because as of right now, they're going to be ending that at the end of this school year. California will pick up to continue with that indefinitely or at least for next year. So meals will continue to be free for California, but if the USDA does not continue it, we'll have to have all of our kids running through a computer system. So that will slow things down. Whereas right now at elementary schools, we just push them through. So just a little snippet of the finances in our department. We currently do, like I said before, we're 100% 100% self-funded program, and we don't use any general fund money. We do have a $2 million budget surplus. That is because of our increased meal reimbursement rates from the government. We were able to serve 7 days worth of meals during the closures. So that means we served a lot more meals. We got all of our produce and other items from unused state commodity dollars. And we also had a really reduced need for additional staffing because we operated at less sites. We weren't cooking food. We were just handing out food that came to us in bulk. We did just complete our state administrative review in February of 2022. We passed with no findings, but we are on a state spending plan. So we have a plan in place to get back into compliance of being a nonprofit program. So we're investing in equipment to improve our scratch cooking capacity, investing in our nutrition staff for culinary training and more staff and more support staff, and also wanting to invest in nutrition promotion. We're also navigating our supply chain issues with increased prices, as well as focusing on improving our menu and connecting our connection of our cafes, our classroom, and our community. That's about it.
Wow.
Any questions?
A couple things.
Okay.
When you came over to our district and were hired, we hit the lottery. You just do a
Oh, well, thank
fantastic
you.
job. It's unbelievable.
I'm tired. I'm definitely tired.
You should be tired. It's
But yeah, no, we
an
definitely,
unbelievable
our
program.
team did an amazing job over
Yeah,
COVID.
you and your staff are just incredible. It's just unbelievable as far as the last 2 years. It was already a stressful job, and it's just the coordination of all this stuff. You should be very proud of yourself. So
Thank you. I
you
appreciate
do a wonderful job. My second thing, is there any chance that we can give like a little certificate or something to the partner programs, like she said, Subway or whatever, to show their appreciation? Or something?
Oh, from the district?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just-
we can talk about that. I'm not sure what the partnership, like how is it with, if it's with us. We can work on that. We can talk about what
Okay.
that might look like.
Yeah,
We'll come back
I mean,
to
we
you
have-
with some
Yeah, I mean,
ideas.
they just hang up.
Yeah.
Stuff. And it just might encourage other people, not their certificate.
I mean, we're
but
purchasing the meals.
Yeah.
They're
The
not
publicity.
donating that.
Yeah.
They're not donating that, correct?
Yeah.
the,
No.
yeah, but I mean, have you? I mean, it's still a lot of work for them. I mean,
It
I know
is,
it's
yeah,
not
no, I
freebie,
mean-
but
They've also had, people out, drivers out with COVID and us having to drive pizza around, and, it's been a team effort, and them
Yeah.
also helping us, when we were shorted on food, saving the day. So,
yeah, I know it's not a free thing on their end, but just
Yeah. No, we'll look into it.
just to recognize that they at least wanted to jump on board with us. So, and that's it for me.
okay.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, and just I want to reiterate, Scott, it's just we have a lot of really hardworking people in the district that have done wonderful jobs in food service. It's just another example, and I can't corroborate enough what your comments was. Whereas Chris has just been a godsend to us and been a wonderful thing. I know it was last year sometime we were working through doing the math to make sure we're going to make the budget, right? To cut the costs, and at the end of the year, oh, guess what? We didn't have to pay for all the produce because the federal government's paying for it. All of a sudden, where we're making sure that we were staying in the black, all of a sudden, basically money showed up. It's a good problem to solve, and Kristen's doing a great job working through updating the kitchens to do that. So again, kudos to her and her staff. She's done an awesome job.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on to item 10.6, an update on the Lcap process, timeline and feedback.
Yes, board, this continues to be in the board packet as we go forward, and we're at that stage in our process, as you can see, where you now have the feedback from all of our staff and district parent groups across the district by school that are there. They've looked at the draft goals and provided feedback to you. And so What'll happen now in the process is we're in the process of looking at that as well. We'll come back to you with what we believe our final draft is at the first June meeting, and then it's a two-part process, right, where this is approved over 2 June meetings along with the budget that aligns with it. So
Okay.
just wanted to put that out there, and happy to take any questions about the feedback that was received or what's there.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 10.7, approval of tentative agreement.
So good evening, board. You have before you this evening actually several tentative agreements. As you know, back in March, we reached an agreement with our Teachers Association for compensation and other items. And so what you have here in each of these items is the respective agreements with our other employee, or most of our other employee groups. We still have management to settle. And so these are all reflective of a financial compensation offer equivalent to the same percentages of what was agreed to with the teachers. And then in this case, this is CSCA, who represents our custodians and food service workers, some changes to their collective bargaining agreement for your consideration and potential approval this evening.
Anybody have any questions for Roxanne on the first tentative agreement?
I'll make a motion that we approve the tentative agreement between with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 895.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
This next is our classified liaison committee, who represents our clerical, instructional aides, campus supervisors, and that group. And again, same financial compensation equivalent to what was provided to the other groups, and then some changes to their collective bargaining agreement.
I'll make a motion that we approve the tentative agreement with the classified liaison unit.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Item 10.8 carries 3-0.
And 10.9 is our final classified agreement group. This is our confidential and supervisory group, our small group of a few of our district level clerical and support staff. And again, same compensation item provided to others.
I'll make a motion that we approve the tentative agreement with the confidential supervisory employee group.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
All right, on to our final item, 10.10, the first reading of board policy, board bylaw, administrative regulation exhibit, Title IX, sexual harassment complaint procedures.
Yes, and this is a new policy for you. It's a first read. It's here for information, and it'll come back next week and our next meeting, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you. Any board member comment or future agenda items?
We had quite a medical scare with our board member, Emil Geddes. He was in the hospital for a few days. He's doing wonderful. He is home now. But I just ask that you keep him in your prayers. And thank you.
Thank you. We'll look forward to having him back next month, hopefully. All right. If there's nothing else, our next meeting will be June 1st at 6 p.m. and we are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.